Yashodanandana Vrajadhanarandana Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabikari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabikari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivraj Akacharya Stuta Dushata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Sri. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, of all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by Srila Prabhupada, Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 24, chanting the song, sung by Lord Shiva. Today's text 66. Prabhatamuchar iti kritya chintaya.
Prabhatamuchar iti kritya chintaya.
Pravriddha lobham vishayeshu lalasam.
Pravriddha lobham vishayeshu lalasam.
Tvamapratak sahasab. Tamapramatak sahasabipadyase.
Tvamapramata sahasabipadyase.
Tvamapramatak sahasabipadyase.
Tvamapramata sahasabipadyase.
Kshuleilihano hir iva kumantakam.
Kshuleilihano hirivakumantakam.
Kshuleilihano hir iva kumantakam.
Kshuleilihano hirivakumantakam.
Pramattamuchariti kritya chintaya.
Pramattamuchariti kritya chintaya.
Pravriddha lobham vishayeshu lalasam.
Pravriddha lobham vishayeshu lalasam.
Tvamapramatak sahasabipadyase.
Tvamapramata sahasabipadyase.
Kshuleilihano hiriva kumantakam.
Kshuleilihano hirivakumantakam.
Pramattamuchariti kritya chintaya.
Pramattamuchariti kritya chintaya.
Pravriddha lobham vishayeshu lalasam.
Pravriddha lobham vishayeshu lalasam.
Tvamapramatak sahasabipadyase.
Tvamapramata sahasabipadyase.
Kshuleilihano hiriva kumantakam.
Kshuleilihano hirivakumantakam.
Yeah?
Pramatam ucher iti kritya chintaya.
Pramattamuchariti kritya chintaya.
Pravriddha lobham vishayeshu lalasam.
Pravriddha lobham vishayeshu lalasam.
Mama pramata sahasa vipadyase.
Mahamramata Sahasami Vaise
Shule lihano hirti bhakumantakaha.
Shule Lado Yirvamamaka
Pramatamuche Kritya Chintaya
Pramatamuche Kritya Chintaya
Pravridhalobham Vishayeshu Lasam
Pravidhaloam Vishayeshu Lasam
Pramata Sahasa Vipadyase
Mahamramata Sahasami Vaise
Shule Dhyano Hirivakumantaka
Shule Lado Yirvamamaka
Prabhatamuchairiti Kritya Chintaya
Pramatamuche Kritya Chintaya
Pravidhaloham Vishayeshu Ladasam
Pravidhaloam Vishayeshu Lavasam
Mama Pramata Sahasa Vipadyase
Pramata Sahasa Vipadyase
Hano Yirvakumantaka
Shule
Lado Yirvamamaka Pramatamuche Kritya Chintaya Pravidhaloam Vishayeshu Lavasam
Pramata Sahasa Vipadyase
Shule Lado Yirvamamaka
Pramatamuche Kritya Chintaya
Pravidhaloam Vishayeshu Lavasam
Pramata Sahasa Vipadyase
Shule Lado Yirvamamaka
Word for word. Pramatam.
Pramata
Persons who are mad.
Persons who are mad
Uchai. Loudly. Iti. Thus. Kritya. To be done. Chintaya. By such desire. Pravriddha. Very much advanced. Lobham. Greed. Vishayeshu. In material enjoyment. Lalasam. So desiring. Tvam. Your lordship. Apramattaha. Completely in transcendence. Sahasa. All of a sudden. Abhipadyase. Seizes them. Kshrut. Hungry. Lelihanaha. By the greedy tongue. Ahi. Snake. Iva. Like. Akum. Mouse. Antakaha. Destroyer. Srila Prabhupada's translation, my dear Lord. This is Lord Shiva speaking. All living entities within this material world are mad after planning for things. And they're always busy with a desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity. Is that a confirmation or a derision? I'm not sure. Be anxious to hear the next commentary. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity. But your lordship is always alert, and in due course of time, you strike him, just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. Please repeat, my dear Lord,
My dear Lord,
all living entities within this material world
All living entities within this material world
are mad after planning for things,
are mad after planning for things.
and they are always busy
They are always busy.
with a desire to do this or that.
The desire to do this or that.
This is due to uncontrollable greed.
This is due to uncontrollable greed.
The greed for material enjoyment
Greed for material enjoyment
is always existing in the living entity,
is always existing in the living entity.
but your lordship is always alert,
But your lordship is always alert.
and in due course of time,
And in due course of time,
you strike him,
you strike him.
just as a snake seizes a mouse
Just as a snake seizes a mouse
and very easily swallows him.
and very easily swallows.
I'm going to need a little water. Thanks. Forgot my water bottle. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Everyone is greedy, and everyone makes plans for material enjoyment. In his lust for material enjoyment, the living entity is described as a madman. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3:27, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. Quote, the bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities, which are in actuality carried out by nature. Unquote. Everything is enacted by the laws of nature, and these laws are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The atheists or unintelligent men do not know this. They are busy making their own plans, and big nations are busy expanding their empires. And yet we know that in due course of time, many empires have come into existence and been destroyed. Many aristocratic families were created by people in their extreme madness. That's funny, the way Prabhupada says that. Many aristocratic families were created by people in their extreme madness. But we can see that in the course of time, those families and empires have all been destroyed. But still, the foolish atheists do not accept the supreme authority of the Lord. Such foolish people unnecessarily concoct their own duties without referring to the supreme authority of the Lord. The so-called political leaders are busy making plans to advance the material prosperity of their nation. But factually, these political leaders only want an exalted position for themselves. Due to their greed for material position, they falsely present themselves as leaders before the people and collect their votes. I mean, this could have been written today, right? And collect their votes, although they are completely under the grip of the laws of material nature. These are some of the faults of modern civilization. Without taking to God consciousness and accepting the authority of the Lord, the living entities become ultimately confused and frustrated in their plan-making attempts. Due to their unauthorized plans for economic development, the price of commodities is rising daily all over the world. Inflation. It could be. Prabhupada's purports are timeless, huh? Yeah, they're unauthorized plans. rising all over the world. So much so that it has become difficult for the poorer classes, and they are suffering the consequences. And due to lack of Krishna consciousness, people are being fooled by so-called leaders and plan makers. Consequently, the sufferings of the people are increasing according to the laws of nature, which are backed by the Lord. Nothing can be permanent within this material world. Therefore, everyone should be allowed to take shelter of the Absolute in order to be saved. In this regard, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, Bhoktarang yagya tapasang sarvaloka maheshwaram suridang sarvabhutanam yatva mang shantim richati. Quote, the sages, knowing me is the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of the living entity, of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. Unquote. If one wants peace of mind and tranquility in society, he must accept the fact that the real enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is the proprietor of everything all over the universe, and he is the supreme friend of all living entities as well. By understanding this, people can become happy and peaceful, individually and collectively. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So Lord Shiva, he's continuing to guide the Prachetas in how to meditate on the Supreme. They've been ordered by their fathers to go to do tapas, and they have this idea that they need to meditate, but then providentially Lord Shiva shows up and gives them something substantial to meditate on. The glories of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now we're coming toward the end of the prayers. And I missed it, but I did read the verse in the purport yesterday when Govardhan Prabhu gave class. Yesterday's verse, although it dramatically described how the Lord as time destroys everything, today's verse describes how, despite knowing, I mean, everybody knows this, that time destroys everything, we still busy ourselves with mad plans to enjoy ourselves in the material world. And why? Well, there's two words here, and they're famous words. Pramatta, or pramatta, yeah, mad. Who knows another verse where pramatta, famous verse from the 5th canto about mad? Yes. Lord Rishabdev instructing his sons.
That word's also used by Bhakti Thakur to describe attitude and changing.
Well, that's another badness, right? This is our way out of the material world, but we're very casual about it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, famous verse from Lord Rishabdev. Yunam pramatya kurute vikarma yadindraya pritaya aprinoti asadu manye yata atmano yang asandapi kleshada asadeha. So Lord Rishabdev says to his 100 sons, when a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad. It's very similar today. He's so greedy that you just lose all your intelligence. He certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body, which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. So we become mad in creating more bodies, which are going to give us more misery. It's like so self-defeating. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body, awarded for sense gratification. It's not really a blessing, it's a curse. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another. So he's instructing his sons, look, don't go there. Perform the po divyam, transcendental austerity. And then it's a brief purport. It's very hard-hitting. Prabhupada says, purport, begging, borrowing, or stealing to live for sense gratification is condemned in this verse because such consciousness leads one to a dark, hellish condition. The four sinful activities are illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. These are the means by which one gets another material body that is full of miseries. So this is the essence of madness, the activities we promise to avoid at initiation. In the Vedas, it is said, asango hiyayang purushaha. The living entity is not really connected with this material world, but due to his tendency to enjoy the material senses, he is put into the material condition. One should perfect his life by associating with devotees. He should not become further implicated in the material body. So in today's purport, by the way, in the verse, I'll read the verse again. So you tell me, look at the last line.
So I was going to ask you about.
The last. But your lordship is always alert. Is it there?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
not that one.
Yeah. And in due course of time, you strike him, just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows it. That goes another verse, famous verse from 7th Canto, when Lord Nrsimhadev is fighting with Hiranyakashipu. That's right in the verse. Yeah, so this is typical. Hiranyakashipu is like the ultimate example of a materialist, hell bent on material enjoyment. So he's fighting with the Lord, and then the Krishna could have just finished him immediately, but he wanted to fight, so he's just having a little fun with him. And then at one point he relaxes his grip on Hiranyakashipu, and Hiranyakashipu thinks, this is the Lord. I can actually fight with him. Actually, Hiranyakashipu was terrified just by hearing the sound of the roar coming out of the pillar. But then he becomes a little emboldened, right? But it's just Krishna just letting him think he can fight. And just as a snake seizes a mouse, and then finally, Lord Nrsimhadev just finishes him off, seizes him, and that's right in the verse. Yeah. So in today's purport, Prabhupada elaborates on how our madness extends into politics. It is election season, so I know I could dovetail the news. And right now, in the last 2 weeks, it's 13 days now, till election day, what are they doing? They're finally, giving in detail, besides smashing, telling how each of them are crazy and unfit and like that. They're also giving out very detailed plans of what they're going to do, how they're going to make everybody. If you vote for me, I got the better plan to make you happy. just like in 2016 when Trump ran against Hillary Clinton. It was really all about the economy's stupid. That was the motto. It's about the economy, stupid. Because even though, the stock market is hitting record highs and this and that, but the average person is hurting. It's the rich, the nothing sure, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer is the old song. So both Trump and Harris are promising that if you just vote for me, I got a plan here, and here's the plan. And it's very different plans. But this is it, it's completely absorbed in the plans. But what is the plan? The plan is how you're going to have more money in your pocket to enjoy sense gratification. That's all it is. And that's not a leader. That's a misleader. The purpose of life is not sense gratification. So, we might choose one over the other, but we're actually just choosing the lesser of two evils from the absolute point of view, because, they're completely misleading people about the goal of life. So, So how can we overcome our madness, our addiction, our greed for sense gratification? So both Lord Rishabdev and Srila Prabhupada give the same prescription. Associate with pure devotees who can introduce us to a peaceful life of sweet service to the Lord. And that's the only, because when Prabhupada said the living entity is, let's see, what does he say? Talks about aristocratic people become mad. Many aristocratic families were created by people in their extreme madness. I want to be, adored, and I want to be worshipped. I want to be on top, number one. Once when Prabhupada was in Japan, and he was negotiating with Dainapan for a good price on publishing the books. So this is a memory from Karandar Prabhu, who was with Prabhupada. And he said, I couldn't believe what an expert negotiator Prabhupada was. He was just so expert. Because, of course, Dainapan is trying to get the highest price for the publishing Prabhupada's books. And Prabhupada's trying to get the lowest price. So anyway, so I forget how Prabhupada did it. He had something. Oh, I think Prabhupada, the way Prabhupada did it was to get the best price. He said, well, I don't have to go with you people. And he was making a huge order. It was the biggest order Dainapan ever had, and they wanted this contract. They wanted to publish the books. So Prabhupada, he said, this is too high. What you're offering is too high. And, we don't have to go with you. We have other, and Prabhupada's made a move like he was going to get up from his chair and just walk out. Oh no, Swamiji, arigato, thank you, Swamiji, it's okay, we can, so they, so Prabhupada got him down through this tactic of threatening to walk out to where it was like, they were practically crying, but they still wanted the contract. He knew how far to push him. And then, as everybody was filing out, so Prabhupada started talking to this man who spoke pretty good English. And he said to the man, what is the aim of your life? What is the aim of your life? So the man, everybody had their names on badges, and they had all put their badges in a pile. So and his was on the bottom. So he took his badge on the bottom and put it on top of the pile. That was his aim, to be the head of Dainapan, from being the, So this is not the goal of life. So how do we? So Prabhupada says, without taking. Anyway, somewhere in the purport, Prabhupada says that the living entity is always greedy. So when you read that, where is that? See if you can scan that.
Everyone is greedy.
Everyone is greedy. Where is that? First line. Everyone is greedy and everyone makes plans for me. No, it's a little further. Well, it's the same idea. Okay. Yeah, everyone. So you might think, well, if we're all greedy, if that's how we are constituted, then it's not my fault. God made me that way, right? So what's the problem here? I'm entitled to be greedy because that's how God made me. But Prabhupada is referring, when he says everyone in the material world. We've become greedy for material. That's what I wanted to find. Everyone's greedy for material enjoyment. So it's the nature of the living entity to be enthusiastic and to expand and to want to increase, but we simply have to apply that to devotional service. That's all. Just like, we're in the middle of this whole thing. We're trying to expand to, build a new temple that's going to radically change everything, the whole community, and it's an austerity. But it's actually, it's the nature of the living entity, individually, collectively, to expand. So we simply have to transfer that desire for more to Krishna. Yeah, that's the whole idea. And that's the peace formula that Prabhupada mentions. If one wants peace of mind and tranquility in society, he must accept the fact that the real enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the materialist would have that and go, oh, no, I'm not the enjoyer. Well, don't tell me that. Yeah, I don't want to hear it, right? And that's why people don't hear it, even though, as I said at the top, even though time is smashing up all of us, all our plans, our bodies, and our whatever, our terms of existence on top. We don't want it, because we don't want to hear it, we don't see it. Pashyannapi na pashyati. We see, but we don't see. So, by understanding this, Prabhupada says, people can become happy and peaceful, individually and collectively. Yes. So I just want to end with, before I take questions and comments, I just had an exchange with Ananda Vrindavan Devi Dasi, the president of DC, Potomac Temple. Right now I'm looking around for a place to present the latest version of my Founder Acharya seminars on the way to Mayapur. So I'm going to have to be out of here, because of the Gem Show sometime in late January. I'm actually not flying to Mayapur until February 7th. So basically last week of Jan, first week of Feb. So I got different options, but I thought I'd contact Ananda first, because they've never seen the whole thing. They've had a couple of lessons, I think 9 years ago. So anyway, I wrote her, and she said, oh, thank you for that. Just send me an outline, and I'll discuss it with our team. Right? And they got a new temple now, as you know. I haven't seen it, but so anyway, I sent her basically the flow of the seminar. It goes from Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. Each lesson's, it's 10 lessons, each lesson's about 90 minutes. So then I got an answer yesterday. She said, boy, it really sounds great, but you know what? I discussed this with my team, and they agree that unfortunately our congregation doesn't have the, whatever it is, doesn't have the interest to sit still for a seminar for more than, like half a day. Like if the seminar lasts maybe half a day, not 10 lessons, for 10 days or 5 days or however you want to slice it up. And so, so although as much as and she said, we tried it. We tried, multi-day seminars and nobody came. Nobody came. And now where are they living? Potomac is right around the Beltway. I mean, it's power chakra loka, for material. Everybody who's, who built that temple, they're running a pretty pressure cooker rat race to keep up with the Joneses and, keep up their positions. A lot of high rolling Indian folks in the congregation. Now those folks built that temple, that multi-million-dollar project. But they're so, wrapped up in the race, they haven't given themselves permission or time or whatever, or desire to attend something which is educational and which is the purpose of these temples. It's all about spiritual education. So Ananda said, it makes perfect ironic sense. But they have no clue about the purpose of these temples, the very temple they built. Yeah. So anyway, I have other options, so I'm going to look at Philly and maybe Baltimore. Yeah. Okay, so I'll read the verse again if you have any questions or comments. My dear Lord, all living entities within this material world are mad for planning for things. And they are always busy with the desire to do this or that. And we too are planning for a temple. That's taking that desire for plan making and applying it for spiritual life. This is due to uncontrollable greed. We have to be greedy to please Prabhupada and Krishna, right? The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity, but your lordship is always alert. And in due course of time, you strike him. So that's his mercy. That he strike, there's another comment. Strike him. Just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. Okay. Bhavanga, Prabhu.
Okay, so the comment question. There's a comment concerning DC that it reminded me of what you're describing of the Varnashram system. Like Brahma, Shakti, Vaishnav, and Sudra. And to want to sit and hear for, and learn, that's kind of like Brahmins like to do that. But, people who are more like Vaishnav mentality, they're like, no, I gotta go out, I gotta make money, I gotta do this. So it sounds like they have a more Vaishnav community than a Brahminical community.
Yeah, but that said, we're interested in becoming Vaishnavas. And if we really want to go back to Godhead, we've got to understand things deeply, because when the going gets tough, we'll be tested.
That's very true, yeah.
And if our understanding is very superficial, sentimental, or if we just built that temple to be social, as like a social thing, right? On Sundays, then that's a karma kanda.
Yeah, and then people forget what the purpose of the temple is, and they stop maintaining the temple.
Yeah.
Anyway, the question.
And not to pick on DC. It can affect us too. Okay, go ahead. You had a question.
The question I have is that it says, the greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity. And that's going to like always existing. Yeah. Is Prabhupada here just referring to living entities like condition, like in the material world, or like is that propensity even within the living entity, like when one goes back to Godhead?
The greed from it. Well, this is how Prabhupada translated. This is Lord Shiva speaking. the greed for material enjoyment is always assisting in the living entity. But your lordship is always alert. Well, don't forget, we are tatastha. So we can either be greedy to please Krishna or greedy to just please ourselves. So, but we're a bundle of desire. That's who we are. So we have to go the right way and not go the material way, because it never ends well. Just, it might seem nice for a time, but then time. And then once our out, then it's Kirtaneshwar.
Nice class, Prabhu. Sweet, as usual. Actually, I have two questions, and like a comment that goes along with the question. You mentioned that talk about the Potomac Temple and that so forth. Like if we don't, I was just thinking this lately, if we don't have if our devotional service is just based on our feelings, like, oh, I'm feeling blissful today, and then the next day it's like, I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling good. Not based on knowledge, which actually the knowledge, the reading, understanding gives us enthusiasm. We can't be successful. And with that being said, goes along with my question. So the Prachetas were told by their father, Prachin Barshtat, to go do austerities, but we see that Prachin Barshtat was a total materialist. He was an absolute materialist, totally absorbed in karma sacrifices. So how are we to understand that they were told to do austerities for what reason?
To become qualified to be a good materialist, to run the kingdom paka like him. Yeah.
I heard in a lecture that the purpose for doing austerities was originally like said run the kingdom, but then somebody said Lord Shiva interceded because he was seeing that they were ready for bhakti.
Narmuni saved Prachin Barshtat.
Right. Yeah. He saved, Lord Shiva saved, right. And those are Mahajans, and that's their business. And that's Prabhupada's business, to save us from taking spiritual life casually or cheaply too. I've been watching, let's see if I just watched a whole DVD number 69, Shruti Kirti Prabhu, and it was all about Prabhupada saving him continually. Oh, I can think of a story, and he was always, Anyway, you have an opportunity, look at DVD 69, and it isn't just Shruta telling these feel-good Prabhupada stories. It's like every Prabhupada story has like this grave purport, and it's, there's fun too in it, but it's also very, there's always a lesson, even with the fun. Hare Krishna.
Nadia, question.
Yes, Nadia.
Thank you for another lovely class, and I wish you good luck.
Yeah, looking for another.
Place for your seminars.
I might have to stay with Krishna Nam and give it over to Krishna Nam.
I just had a funny little thought when you were talking about the Lord Nrsimha Day pastime and in relation to this one. And I was thinking how it can be easy to just think of these stories just externally outside of ourselves, because you're talking about how Krishna will let up his grip and then let us fight some, and then he'll smash us, and I'll think like, haha, like Hiranyakashipu, like he's really getting it, and then I'll think like, wait, that's me, like that's what happens with me. I think I can fight a little bit with my rationale or whatever it is. And it's just like the Gita. I don't know right or wrong, and this is beyond right or wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what Shruti Kirti Prabhu was saying. Boy, I wish I could remember some of the stories. But as soon as I feel a little good, oh, this is pretty good. Right? I'm 77 and I can still dance and I can still strut my stuff. And then, oh! Okay, I get it. So, So the pangs of material existence, Prabhupada always said that the pangs, that's Krishna as the time factor, just reminding us. And those pangs get more frequent. If you don't believe me, ask Gaur Shakti, he'll tell you every day about it. Huh? Okay, I guess it's time. Oh, another one?
Last question. So this is the more practical question. Other ones were kind of in the Bhagavatam, but we hear that, there's a sense that, yes, material enjoyment is going to cause you so much misery. You know it. You all know it. And I think there's a point purport Prabhupada makes. He says, that all our plans are destined to fail. It's still, we find that having understood that, devotees still try to go for material enjoyment. Why is that? And how do we overcome it?
It's an addiction. It's an addiction. We are all addicted. To be fair, constitutionally, Krishna is ashray, he's the shelter, and we're ashrita. We have a tendency to take shelter. But forgetting Krishna, we take shelter of so many things. I mean, I could easily, like I said, so I just told you a little thing from the election news. But I could easily join a group called New York Times Anonymous or Mass Media Anonymous, because in the name of, and I do, I use everything as you know in the classes or just in conversation, but it's too much. So how do you know when and Prabhupada himself, he was up on the news. His whole Back to Godhead, in the early days was his commentary on what's going on in the world. But how do you know when, in the name of Yukta Vairagya, engaging something in Krishna's service, how do you know when that becomes, when that controls you instead of you engaging it, it engages you? Well, a good case is, for example, in my case, if I'm chanting Hare Krishna, trying to chant my rounds, say Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking of a quote from Kamala Harris against Donald Trump, right? Right? Or vice versa, or anything. Something, I don't know, oh yeah, Caitlin Clark said this about the next year in the WNBA, there might be a lockout if the WNBA doesn't properly give the salaries to the ladies like the NBA, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Caitlin Clark said, oh. Yeah, when it too much interferes with your japa or your service, because we're supposed to be meditating on the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna, and not the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of people in the material world who are just, they happen to be at the top of the Ferris wheel, so they're in the news. And then the Ferris wheel turns, and then they'll be smashed by time like everybody else. We go up and down and up.
What you said about the Ashraya and Ashrita, is a nice point. It's awful.
We take shelter, but when we take shelter of material things, it's the bad shelter. It's fallible soldiers.
Sounds like a Sunday feast lecture. Get on Sunday feast lecture on that.
Yeah. Okay, so it's time to take shelter. Krishna Prasad Ki Jai. Hari Bol. But only enough for service. Otherwise,